Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's discussion is going to be on what most people get wrong about setting goals and achieving happiness. If you don't know, my name is Kevin Jin. I'm a management consultant based out of Chicago, and I talk about tips and tricks that I wish I knew 3 years ago surrounding productivity, fitness, lifestyle, and philosophy. As I kind of alluded to earlier, happiness and the goal setting aspect of life has definitely shifted over time, especially with this younger generation. I feel like a lot of people nowadays are very short-term gratification, right? They want to see results very, very fast, and I've been in that shoes a lot too. And one of the things that I actually struggled with, especially when I was in high school and college, was understanding that happiness is more a state of mind rather than a destination. There's not going to be one goal that you set that is going to lead to your happiness. If anything, you're just going to keep moving the goalpost over and over again, right? And so one of the examples that I give is back in college, every single year I had a specific academic or professional goal for myself. So freshman year, it was to get into one of the top consulting clubs in the university that had like a 5% acceptance rate. And I thought I was going to be happy because, you know, that's a great accomplishment to have and it's going to set me up for my career. But then, as I mentioned earlier, you just keep moving the goalpost because now you're surrounded with a bunch of amazing people who all kind of share the same like qualities, traits, attributes, and a lot of them might be more motivated and more successful than you. And you continue to compare yourself uh, in that type of lens, right? And so my sophomore year, it became more so of I need to land an internship at a very top consulting firm, and then I'll be happy. And so I landed an internship at Big Four. The happiness lasted not even 5 minutes. Like I got the call from the recruiter telling me that I got the offer and when the start date was and what were the next steps and everything. And I was so pumped on the call. And right after, I told my roommate, and I realized my excitement just kind of like faded away. Like it was definitely a good accomplishment, and I did feel like a sense of renewal in the fact that like all my hard work, all my networking, and all my preparation for interviews kind of got me somewhere. But then it was clouded by the fact that I was looking at the next step. It was like, oh, I already got this achievement. What is the next thing that I need to do? Right. And for me at that point, the next thing was potentially getting into a better consulting firm. And so that's kind of how I kept moving the goalpost over and over again. And it just doesn't do anything for your personal satisfaction. So, one of the lessons that I wish I learned back then was having your goals disjointed, which means completely separated from your happiness. You want to be learning in a part of the process rather than having your emotions dictate where you are, like in your current process. The other thing that I also wanted to talk about, especially with goal setting, is just understanding the nature of life, right? This is something that I kind of knew, but didn't necessarily like implement before. And it's simply the fact that you're always going to have problems no matter what. No one ever has a perfect life. Like everyone has problems. And one of my favorite quotes is a homeless guy has money problems. Warren Buffett also has money problems. And so it's kind of to show that no matter where you are at your stage of life, there's always going to be problems. And it's your job to understand how to effectively face those problems and respond to those problems as well. And so if we envision life as like almost like an emotional, like a graph in terms of like your good emotions and your bad emotions, you'd almost think of it as like a bell curve, right? 68% of your life is going to be in that one standard deviation where you feel like normal or standard. And then you're going to have the bottom half and then the top half as well. And so if 50% of your life is going to be, negative emotions, which, it probably will be because that's just how standard distributions work, then does that mean you should be unhappy 50% of your life? No, that just doesn't make sense. And honestly, I don't think that's a very good way to approach how you live. When you think about that, you just have to understand that all the problems you have are things that everyone else is experiencing too. You're not the only one who's battling demons in their head or, trying to figure out how to get out of debt or how to fix their relationship with their parents or anything like that, right? There's a whole plethora of different things, and the best way to think about it is just how do you respond to those problems effectively, right? Because everyone's going to have these problems. It's the quality of problems that you're having, and then also the quality of your response to what you're having. Because you're never going to be able to fix every single problem. In business, in life, in relationships, no matter what, once you solve a problem, there's always going to be another problem that you're going to have to solve as well. And so, one of the ways that you kind of mitigate this is by gratuity. And so, what is gratuity? Gratuity is being in the present and being grateful for your current situation. A lot of people kind of compare upwards, and it's like, oh, this guy has this thing, or she's like super talented or whatever. And they only look at other people's positive qualities, and they don't necessarily compare downward, because no one's ever going to, or at least hopefully no one's ever going to like compare downward to like make themselves feel better about themselves. Like that's natural like human psychology. But in my understanding, a lot of my friends and myself included, we're always looking towards others for inspiration. And with that comes like a certain sense that you might not be doing as effectively or as well as you can, and that kind of takes you out of your head and it makes you emotional, right? Because as the saying goes, comparison is the thief of joy. As soon as you start comparing yourself to another person, you're not going to be happy with your current accomplishments. And what does that get you? Like maybe it gets you short-term motivation when people say like I need to lock in and do something huge and like change my life entirely. But in the long term, it's just going to make you feel like you haven't done anything. Like there hasn't been that much achievement on your end, which there has been. That was something that I fell into, especially when I was looking for consulting internships. I had all my friends land very good full-time offers at MBB, Big Four. I had my software engineering friends land interviews and offers at Fang or Mang, whatever you want to call it these days. And then that just kind of just stripped away my own accomplishments. But then the thing that you have to realize is everyone is on their own track in their life, and they've all gone through their own experiences, right? It's not fair for me to do a one-to-one comparison with one of my friends in tech, right? Because they've had a whole different skill set built up. They've had a different lifestyle. They had a different childhood. Basically, almost everything has been different. It doesn't make sense that you can make those comparisons overall. And so that kind of brings us back to the main point, which is talking about gratuity. As long as you're working towards being a better version of yourself every single day, that's worthy of being an accomplishment, right? Because you never know what other people, like how they're living their lives or how they achieve their goals or how much they've sacrificed, right? You only look at the good side, but you don't know all the bad things that happen to them. So it's not fair for yourself to be able to compare exactly how other people are doing to potentially what you're doing. And so another lesson that kind of ties into this is more so about the sacrifice related to achieving goals or whatever you want to do in your life. Before, I always envisioned the end goal, like all the benefits, what rewards I could reap. But then that's just a framework for setting yourself up for failure, just because you don't necessarily know if you could get to that end goal, right? You have to be able to go through all of these trials and tribulations and be able to figure that out and eventually get to that end destination. So for me, for example, one of the dreams that I had when I was a kid was I wanted to be an actor. I saw Simu Liu in Shang-Chi and I was like, I want to be this guy when I grow up. And obviously reality came to a hit when I realized that being an actor is more than just showing up as a pretty face on a big screen TV. Like you have to go through auditions. There's a bunch of politics that you have to play. You have to learn all the scripts. You have to do like everything under the sun. And for me, it wasn't worth all those additional problems or all those different like responsibilities. So instead of thinking about goals from the perspective of what you want, think about it from the perspective of what you would be willing to sacrifice. That's the end of the day, what it is. Any goal that that you're going to achieve is going to be based off of something that you would be willing to sacrifice. If you haven't, I always use a gym analogy because it's the one that makes the most sense. But for people who always say that, they can't go to the gym, right? That just means that it's not a priority for them. That means that they're not willing to sacrifice an hour a day to be able to, exercise and work on themselves. This kind of also ties back into what I was talking about earlier with not comparing yourself to others, because you're never going to know exactly what other people are sacrificing as well behind the scenes. You may look at their amazing accomplishment, the award, the prestige, or anything that they got, But behind the scenes, you might not have known that they only got like 5 hours of sleep every single day. They were working 80 hours a week. They had, issues or they're struggling with certain things. You never know all the things at the like they no one's ever going to show that side. Especially with social media and everything, everything is a highlight reel nowadays. And it's very easy to get caught up in it and only compare yourself to other people's highlight reels when you don't see all the different things that they might be working on in the background. I had a friend who got a amazing internship at BCG when he was a sophomore, and I was like, "Ah, I wish I could be like him." Because at that time that was my goal. And the more that I talked to him and the more that I got to know his personality, he's he's a whole different beast than me. And he sacrificed things that I would not be willing to fathom, in which he kept casing over and over again. He was networking every single second of the day. He only focused on like schoolwork and everything in his academic achievements and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, like I'm very focused on that type of thing too, but it was nearly 2 or 3 times as much as what I was doing. Never only look at the end goal, like look through exactly what you would need to struggle with in order to get to that end goal. The last thing that I wanted to talk about regarding happiness is just having a positive and a growth mindset when it comes to these different types of things. Life is challenging, right? There's going to be hurdles that feel like they're insurmountable. There's going to be problems that you're going to be facing that makes you want to just stay in bed all day. But carpe diem. You just got to seize the day. You got to take everything step by step. The problems that are worth solving are not going to be solved in a few weeks or a month or something like that. As long as you're taking the relevant steps of trying to improve yourself every single day and you're remaining grateful for your opportunity or for the opportunities presented in front of you, you're going to be fine. Take things very slow, be in the moment, and the truth of the matter is, you're only as young as you are right now. And so, if there's things that you want to do with your life, start now. Enjoy the process. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that make you want to pull your hair out, or maybe even like excuses that you're making as to why you can't start. For me, happiness and goal setting are two parallel trains that run right next to each other. I feel like a lot of people, especially with my age, are always thinking about what they want to achieve, but it's almost like a delicate balance because of all the different topics that I've been talking about comparing yourself to others, about not being able to see the big picture, and about setting goals effectively and being grateful for your situation. Word of advice, continue to just better yourself. Only compare yesterday's you to current day you. And as long as you're getting better 1% every single day, you're doing the right things. Hope this video helps. Like and subscribe if you think I should be posting more content like this. And otherwise, I will see you guys again tomorrow.